Shout out to shout out to Old Bag. I'm about 5 minutes late, but I was doing stuff. I was parenting. Anyways, down goes Proctor. Okay, down goes Proctor. Proctor is toast. Proctor is toast. I've said before, I previously said that the defense need to focus on Proctor. Leave all them other folks alone. Your theory has to be based on Proctor. Everything about this case should be based on Proctor. What's up, Benji? Down goes Proctor. Today, we're supposed to discuss a different aspect of Karen Reed, but we have breaking news. So that's what we are going to address, okay? Old Bag is working outside, but she's listening in the bushes. Well, thank you, Old Bag. Thank you for tuning in. All right, let me share my screen. Let me share my screen. What's up, Brooklyn? No, that's not it. Okay, here we go. Anyways, Proctor is toast. Let's just fast forward to 2024. Actually, we're rewinding. We're rewinding to 2024. In order for Proctor and his folks to understand how he got where he got today. Okay, let's first. I'm not gonna play the entirety of his vile text messages, but we do need some context.
I wasn't sure how to interpret that one.
All right, next question, Mr. Jackson.
Then 5051 changes gears. And he writes, she hot at least, correct?
Yes.
And what was your response to that?
From all accounts, he didn't do a thing wrong. She's a whack job cunt.
From all accounts, he didn't do a thing.
Cunt.
And what was your response to that?
From all accounts, he didn't do a thing wrong. She's a whack job cunt.
Down goes Proctor. I do not know for the life of me. I do not know why he was texting with his buddies. He could have used something else. Signal, WhatsApp, anything and everything but iMessage. Down goes Proctor. He brought this upon himself.
From all accounts, he didn't do a thing wrong. She's a whack job cunt. That's what you wrote, correct?
Correct.
16 hours into this investigation.
Hold on. What's going on, Benji? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry, Benji. Benji's going through a rough patch, you guys. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry, Benji. Send me an email. I'm not a counselor. Definitely not the person you come to for relationship advice. But yeah, I don't know how else to, I can talk to you though. So if you want to send me an email, send me an email. Okay. But I'm sorry that happened to you. Are you going to work today? Obviously, I'm not going to ask how you feel because I'd like to assume that you're not in a good space. But I'm sorry that happened to you.
Yes.
Into your objective and unbiased, thorough investigation, correct?
Correct.
But sir, you didn't have all accounts, did you?
What I meant by that was...
Did you or did you not have all accounts in your investigation?
The accounts we had was Miss Reed struck Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle, discovered taillight pieces at the scene. Those are the accounts we had.
The accounts you had, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
The accounts you had, Trooper Proctor, were from two people named McCabe and one named Albert, who happened to be the homeowner and a Boston cop. Those are the accounts from percipient witnesses that you had, correct?
There was another additional witness that we had.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Benji. Do send me an email though. Okay, so Benji's watching the Lakers. I don't watch the NBA. I watch the WNBA. So yeah. Okay, let's.
Investigators had interviewed Miss Roberts as well.
And from all accounts, he didn't do a thing wrong. That was your decision 16 hours into the investigation, correct?
Yes.
And the other decision that you made and the other determination you came to was my client, Karen Reed, was a whack job cunt, right?
Yes.
That's crazy.
What else did you say in response to she's hot at least? Or she hot at least? Question mark.
Old bag says that Benji deserves better. Okay. Yeah. Let me see. What do you mean way worse? What are you talking about, Benji?
So following that text, I
I'm
responded,
sorry that happened to you, though.
yeah, she's a babe. Weird Fall River accent, though. No ass.
Sheesh.
Yeah, she's a babe.
What?
Who's the she?
Miss Reed.
Weird Fall River accent, though. You talking about her, the way she talks?
The accent.
You have an accent too, Proctor.
And no ass.
Everybody does.
Now you're talking about her body, her physique, correct?
Yes.
You think that's appropriate?
Absolutely not.
Then Bird chimes in with a little comedy. Not newsworthy then, correct?
Correct.
In other words, well, if she didn't have an ass, nothing to see here, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
And then 5051 says,
Proctor,
Oh, she's skating.
Proctor.
right?
Correct.
And what did you write after that?
Okay, so obviously, not obviously, okay, but court's in session tomorrow. They have motions. I am curious to find out how the prosecution is going to try and cure this damage right here. Because previously, prior to, his mini police trial, prior to the police colonel terminating him, okay, prior to the conclusion of his administrative hearing, the prosecution had argued that no mention be made of, any open and ongoing investigation. Well, it's closed now, okay? It is closed now. He's terminated. The board has pretty much determined that his conduct was improper. There is no escaping that. No escaping that. As far as, obviously, this is not good for the prosecution, not one bit. He was already tainted. Proctor was already tainted prior to this determination, or prior to his termination. But now he is absolute toast. Absolute toast. And again, his conduct was improper. It was despicable. What's up, Cali girl? Proctor's toast. I'm just trying to figure out how the prosecution moves forward from here, because here's the thing. Under these circumstances, let me make an example of let's see. We're going to refer to
My response was 0 chance she skated.
And then what did you write?
She's fucked.
0 chance she skates. She's fucked, right?
Correct.
You decided on the 29th of January, 17 hours into this investigation, you decided individually, Trooper Proctor, you're not only going to put it on the girl, you decided you're going to make sure this is cut and dried, and the way you're going to do it is to make sure that she's fucked. That's what you were saying.
Objection.
All right, so that's sustained. The content's fine. You have to ask it differently.
17 hours into this investigation, Trooper Proctor, you made the decision that you were going to put it on Miss Reed, didn't you? Put the case on Miss Reed. She was going to catch the case, correct?
No, absolutely not.
What did you mean then when you said she's fucked?
After the day's investigation with multiple troopers conducting multiple tasks, And a debriefing at Canton PD amongst detectives in my office, we went through the overwhelming amount of evidence against Miss Reed that she
Sorry,
struck
folks.
Mr. O'Keefe with her vehicle.
I'm parenting. I'm parenting. Let me go over what the Boston.com reported today. Okay, Zeta wants my phone, so let me read this stuff, and then I'll give my opinion as to what the prosecution is possibly going to do. And I've said it before, even before a decision was made. I said the prosecution needs to focus on Proctor. My co-counsel Brooklyn, he disagreed with me. He said no, needs to focus on everybody else, the Collins, the McCabe's, the Alberts. In my opinion, that does not take the defense anywhere, because in order for, here's the thing, the defense has too many theories of who done it or who could have done it. The jury might reason that it is unlikely that five different individuals with a bunch of do their stories line up? I have to go back and think. In any event, I think that the defense they have to pin everything on Proctor. That has to be their focus. The notion that 5 or 6 other individuals possibly could have done it does not, in my opinion, does not help the defense, because the prosecution is only pinning this on one person. Anyways, let me read this. So Zeta can get this. She really needs to be in bed. She needs to be in bed, but I'm going to let her take this phone for 10 minutes. Okay, so this is from the Boston, okay? Pretty much they're just reporting that disgraced Massachusetts, okay? Disgraced Massachusetts State Police trooper Michael Proctor, who rose to infamy over his handling of the Karen Reed murder case, has been fired. I should have actually found the Lil Woody. I need to turn that into a clip. The Lil Woody, what is this clip of him firing his standby counsel. Anyways, they're saying that man has been fired. Okay. So Noble terminated Proctor at the recommendation of a trial board, which found him guilty of unsatisfactory performance and consuming alcohol while on duty. I was going to get distracted. I was going to talk about everybody else in this case and how they appear to have a drinking problem, but I'm going to move on from that. Noble's personnel order specifically points to Proctor's conduct as lead investigator on Reed's case. Of interest were the vulgar texts that he sent to family, friends, and co-workers about the defendant. Listen, I've gone over and over again. I've said, I do not understand why. I just, again, it was improper of him, but from the standpoint of somebody that probably should have been cautious, because he should have ding, 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 ding. You cannot talk like this about a criminal defendant, especially not on a case that you are investigating. I don't know, WhatsApp, Cigna, a kite, like fly a kite, something. Don't be on iMessages. In any event, Noble goes on to say that my decision to terminate Mr. Proctor follows a thorough, fair, and impartial process. I've weighed the nature of the offenses, their impact on our investigative integrity, and the importance of safeguarding the reputations of our dedicated women and men in the state police. This decision reflects our unwavering commitment to upholding blah, blah, just a whole lot of police talk. We're going to move on. So, okay. So the state police relieved Proctor of duty soon after Reed's first murder trial had ended in a mistrial. So that's actually going to be the main distinction, okay? Because at the first trial, sure, the conduct was improper, questionable, but no official, no official steps had been taken against him. It's very different now for Proctor. It's very different now for the prosecution, because, yeah, the man has been fired not for anything other than his misconduct in this case. Okay, so apparently Proctor's attorney spoke on his behalf, talked about how the firing was predetermined months ago. Michael Proctor has never denied that he sent derogatory and vulgar text messages in private conversations with personal friends. Okay, that's what his attorney said. He does deny, however, that his investigation in this case was compromised in any way, and the testimony at the recent trial board by commissioned officers of the department confirmed that fact. I don't know about that. Lawyer, I do not know about that. I do not know about that. In any event, so that's pretty much, I guess, his testimony. I don't know. I'd like to see how Brennan gets out of this one. Because to me, what saved Proctor the first time around is that he actually owned up to, his misconduct. He was separating his text messages, I suppose, to his buddies from the actual investigation of the case. He maintained that. Now, my head's literally spinning because I'm trying to think. Okay, so when Proctor gets on the stand, right? He's getting on the stand. He's probably going to be unemployed unless he picked up another job already, different county. Probably. I don't know that another county would touch this, though. I don't see another county touching Proctor, considering considering how. No, another county's not doing this because it's not out of the norm for an officer that has been terminated or suspended from one county to move to a different county, even in the same state. But this case has garnered so much attention, it's almost inconceivable that other counties in the state would not actually know of Michael Proctor's conduct. It's not even about knowing. I just don't know that they'd want to touch this. So I have no idea. In any event, so what I was trying to figure out, or what I'm trying to consider, is that when Michael Proctor first testified, he may have been trying to save his job, right? But currently, he really has no job to save. So, to an extent, he kind of does not really have an incentive to testify favorably for the prosecution. I mean, he probably is, if he's trying to, guard whatever is left of his reputation. But other than that, he's terminated. He can probably appeal. But I do not know that he has an incentive to testify favorably for the prosecution. But that said, I do not know what on earth Michael Proctor was thinking. But I've said this before. Usually in small towns, I mean, this might also be prevalent in larger cities, but not by this. I'm just talking about the what is this? The deficient investigation in this case, right? It's prevalent. The fact that the Alberts and the Proctors knew each other. There was the offering of a gift being bought for Emily or something along those lines, or the suggestion that the gift go to Emily as opposed to him. Uh, Definitely small town stuff, because in larger cities, highly unlikely that an officer would be investigating folks that they know personally. I mean, just going by numbers and statistics, it's unlikely unless you're, um, assigned to a precinct or district that you actually live in. But yeah, that man's fine. Okay. There's no coming back from this. I've said it before. The defense have to focus. They have to focus on Michael Proctor. If, again, tomorrow I'm actually going, oh, shoot, I have a hearing tomorrow. Okay, but hopefully A Karen Reed hearing is usually early in the morning, so hopefully it's done before my hearing commences. But in any event, I would like to know how Brennan is going to go about this. And here's the other thing. Oh, I got distracted. The example that I was going to give you guys. Okay. From a prosecution perspective, okay, a prosecution is not always trying cases that they absolutely think, with the exception of the feds, okay, the federal government's different. But at the state level, prosecution is not always trying cases that they think they can absolutely win. I hate using that term. That's like the Brooklyn term. Brooklyn likes talking about a side winning. But here's what I mean by that. If we go back to the ASAP Rocky trial, right? The facts are the facts. The whole starter pistol defense, that was bogus. That was BS. That was not a starter pistol. Okay. That was a real firearm. But I've mentioned before, over and over again, I've talked about the distinction between substantive truth and factual truth. Okay. In that ASAP Rocky trial, everything came crumbling down once, Relly took the stand. Okay. But here's the thing, during the trial, it became apparent that Relly and Takapina previously met. Apparently, it was during one of the, what is it called in California? Hold on. I forgot, but it was a pretrial hearing. Okay. Probable cause. I want to say probable cause hearing. I don't know if that's what it's called in California, but you guys get the concept. Okay. I believe it was a probable cause hearing, and Takapina and Relly got into it, and it was fiery. So that should have been an indication to the prosecution that that's probably how both Takapina and Relly would behave at trial. And when that's the case, the jury no longer focuses on the actual facts. They move on to something else. They go on to assess demeanor, credibility to a certain extent. There are other factors. I mean, with the ASAP Rocky trial as well, there was this whole notion that, not a notion, but Relly was pretty much, what is this? He was pretty much focused, or he had made a decision that he had no interest in the actual criminal case. And it did not matter to him whether, Rocky was convicted or acquitted. So that's something that the jurors potentially could have taken into consideration. Okay. So the reason why I bring up that recent case is to explain this. In this Karen Reed case, right? Um, it has been determined, as far as the medical evidence goes, as far as the prosecution's medical evidence goes, they have determined that this was either a homicide. If it's not homicide, then it's manslaughter, based on the evidence that they have. Under those circumstances, and considering that John O'Keefe's family is invested in this trial, and they go to court and an actual human being is deceased, it's going to take more than just Proctor being fired for the prosecution to decide to drop the charges. Okay. The fact that Proctor has been fired, the fact that he's been terminated, that is not going to be the sole determining factor in deciding whether the Commonwealth drop the charges or if they proceed with a case. And again, if we go back to the ASAP Rocky Relly trial, again, that conduct from the preliminary hearing, that should have been a signal to the prosecution that they're probably going to behave the same way, and the jury is probably going to acquit. But that was not enough for the prosecution in that case to pretty much decide to drop the charges. And I'm extending the same argument to the this Karen Reed trial. Again, we're going to find out tomorrow. I'm trying to figure out exactly how Brennan, trying to figure out how they go about this. Maybe the prosecution is going to focus on independent evidence, mostly so they're experts, um, focusing on, the autopsy, and maybe even focusing on the Alberts and all the other individuals. But this case is definitely in a much different posture than it was the first time around. And I truly do not know. I have no idea what Michael Proctor was thinking. It's just, I don't get it. And this is also going to open him up for further investigation. Folks that were convicted, and he was the lead investigator on their cases. I do not doubt, I do not doubt that appeal attorneys are pretty much going through files trying to comb through everything, and they're coming after Michael Proctor. They're definitely coming after Michael Proctor. Anyways, let me look at these comments quickly. Okay, let's see what's Benji saying. Okay, she says, if I didn't understand her intentions. Yeah, Benji, it sounds like you don't have kids with this woman, so you got out lucky. And then Brooklyn says, Proctor being fired today doesn't make any sense unless Bev is going to rule that Proctor can't testify. What do you mean? Why do you think, why would Beverly Cannoni bar Proctor from testifying? That does not make sense, because the defense can literally call Proctor as a what is this, as a witness. And not even that, even if Proctor disappeared, okay, if Proctor Poof literally disappeared from earth today, his prior testimony is going to come in. Yeah, sure, it may be considered hearsay, but there's an exception to that because he would be considered an unavailable witness. The prosecution has no, they have no real choice. They're going to have to call Proctor. Okay. I mean, the other option is to drop the charges. Whether they drop the charges, I don't know, because I just don't know. Because here's another example. Maybe the ASAP Rocky rally example was too complex. Here's an example. A DV case, victim comes forward and says, no, I no longer want to proceed with these charges. I want the charges dropped. It's not up to the victim. The prosecution can always proceed with those charges, even looking at the possibility that, the witness might actually get on the stand and claim to have amnesia or claim to have lied, things along those lines. But in this case, a Proctor is not going to be, or at least the fact that he was fired, that is not going to be the determining factor for the prosecution, unless, of course, John O'Keefe's parents are like, we want to be done. We want to be done. But again, they also do not decide if the prosecution is done or not. Let's see. All right. So Benji's replying to Obag. No, Brooklyn, that's not how it works. That's like saying that an officer who resigns or moves to a different state that previously used to be a lead investigator, they don't get to testify. You're behind is testifying. So, okay. Is my mic on? Yeah, it is. It is. It is. Okay, Brooklyn said you're fired. Okay, pension, 401k. Yeah, that might be a reason for him to want to testify favorably, but I think ultimately it's going to come down to an interest that actually matters to Michael Proctor. I mean, he was on the force for 12 years. So he might actually have some decent. He might have some decent pension, and he looks old enough. I think he had a prior career before he got into law enforcement. But here's the thing: Proctor is definitely one of those people that should not have been um, in law enforcement. Okay, because maybe he got comfortable with behaving poorly and nobody actually checking him. Because I it's almost inconceivable for me to think that this is the first time that Michael Proctor has ever behaved in this manner. Maybe it is. There's a great possibility that this is probably the first time that he behaved in a despicable manner and he got caught the first time around. But I highly doubt it because he was pretty comfortable. He was comfortable in his, what is this? In his derogatory remarks and vile remarks of Karen Reed. So yeah, I just sheesh. I mean, it was inevitable, okay? He was either gonna get fired while the trial was, while the trial was still sitting, or while the court was still sitting, he was gonna get fired one point or another. I do not know how he thought he could get away with his behavior. But then again, if you're not used to being accountable and if you're used to getting away with things, it makes sense why he possibly thought that, what, they're not gonna do anything and I'm just gonna get away with it. But apparently the blue wall of silence did not come out to protect this man. Okay. Obag says, I think the prosecutor is going to turn everything on Proctor. No, Obag. Why would they do that? Okay, explain. Explain what you mean by that. But let's quickly get into Proctor's testimony a little bit here.
That's what I meant by that comment.
What you meant by that comment, Trooper Proctor, was you were going to make sure, because 5051 had said she's going to skate. She's skating. When you said zero chance she skates, she's fucked. What you meant was, I'm going to make sure.
Baby, there's only one person that's fucked here. Okay, I hate to use that. I hate to use that language, but what on earth was this bullheaded man thinking?
I am going to make sure Ms. Reed doesn't skate. She's fucked. That's what you meant.
Objection.
Sustained.
And then Bird decides to chime in.
Okay, so apparently Proctor's family actually gave a statement, okay? I'm going to read it here. So the statement reads, we are truly disappointed with the trial board's decision as it lacks precedent and unfairly exploits and scapegoats one of their own, a trooper with a 12-year unblemished record, okay? I know. Let me just read the statement. I'm going to keep my comments to myself. So apparently, despite the Massachusetts State Police's dubious and relentless efforts to find more inculpatory evidence against Michael Proctor on his phones, computers, and cruiser data, the messages on his personal phone referring to the person who killed a fellow beloved Boston police officer are all they found. The messages prove one thing, that Michael is human, not corrupt, not incompetent in his role as a homicide detective, and certainly not unfit to continue to be a Massachusetts state trooper. Well, it sounds like he's going to move on to a different county. That's what it sounds like to me. He might move on to a different state. I don't know where he's going to move to. I don't know, maybe Wisconsin. In any event, so they go on to say that Proctor and his detectives led a meticulous and thorough investigation of integrity, and despite today's wrongful termination and great harm and defamation, this case has inflicted on him. My screen just jumped. Now I have to find my spot. Okay, so defamation this case has inflicted on him and his family. Proctor still believes Proctor still believes justice will be served. He's grateful for the unrelenting support of the union, okay, and the men and women of the Massachusetts State Police. His heart is always with the family of Officer John O'Keefe. We continue to endure a prolonged and unimaginable nightmare. Well, it sounds like he's going to appeal. And that's the thing, folks, where when it comes to investigations, trial courts, they're always appealable, okay? And it may well be that once he appeals, it could be overturned. You never know. You never know. Um, so I guess if it does go on to appeal that would be the prosecution's angle. I guess during redirect or even during cross, they have to take this head on, and they will, have him testify to the effect that he appealed and he believes that he was wrongfully terminated, things along those lines. Okay, so Callie is saying sorry to Benji. Yeah. Let's see. Brooklyn is saying, Brooklyn said, as though your boyfriend Alessi is going to have a big role arguing tomorrow. Oh, without a doubt. Listen, before I came up here, I was really stressed out, okay? Stressed out because of my hearing. Defense, they tried to ambush me or whatever. They filed their answer to my request before the hearing is tomorrow. The hearing is tomorrow. And these folks waited until today to file a response opposing my request. And I stress out because I'm like, okay, I mean, I read through it. I'm still gonna stick to my argument, but I'm just stressed out because tomorrow morning, as opposed to moving on to other cases, I'm going to have to spend time going through their case law and seeing how I can pick it apart. But that said, when I found out that Proctor was terminated, I'm like, somebody else in the United States has a bigger headache than they have a bigger headache than I do. They're more stressed out than I am. So yeah, unless that's who needs to actually, they're probably going to file a new motion. I think defense is probably going to file. They're busy typing away right now. They're drafting a motion right now. But in any event, all jokes aside, actually Proctor being fired, that is advantageous for Karen Reed. Okay, that's good for Karen Reed. I hope they don't I don't know why they would file a motion for him to be barred from testifying. That would just be stupid. That would be really stupid because right now, Proctor has to be who the defense attacks. Okay, that's who they attack from the very beginning to the very end, starting with opening statement, something along the lines of, folks. During this trial, it will come to the fore that the lead investigator in this case was terminated for his improper conduct and the manner in which he investigated this case. Like, case closed. Case closed. Case closed. I've said it before and I'm going to repeat it again, okay? I don't know if Alessi definitely does not need my help, but the other folks, Jackson might need my help because something's wrong with him. In any event, they need to focus. The defense needs to focus on Proctor from start to finish. I said it before. I don't know, sometime this week or last week, and I'm going to say it again. Proctor has to be their point of attack. Anything and everything has to go back to Proctor. Why? Because he's the lead investigator. And it's even better now that he has it's better now that he's actually been terminated for improper conduct. And, he's going to go on and say that, going to make that distinction. These are just text messages to my, loved ones. We're just joking around. We're kikiing. I'm not a serious person, something along those lines. But this is a headache. Okay, Olbeck says, well, in the trial, when Jen was testifying, she said Proctor wrote her statement wrong. She probably did Sorry, I disconnected my mic. I don't remember everything that everybody testified to. The only thing that I remember from Jan McCabe was when, not the only thing, I need to stop with absolutes, but during Jan McCabe's testimony, when she was reading out text messages and she was like, I love it. Okay. Um, let's see. Brooklyn says they're going through 46 witness list tomorrow. Okay, so Obag says, so I'm wondering if they can turn it into Proctor. Proctor is incredible and we shouldn't trust him. They listen, the defense needs to focus on Proctor. Disregard trying to attack everybody else. I mean, they can certainly cross-examine everybody and, attack their credibilities, but in this case, if they don't pin it on Proctor, then they need to reassess how they try criminal cases. Okay, let's see, Brooklyn. Yes, I hope Karen Reed can sue Boston PD for her lawyer fees on the Proctor. I don't know about that. Uh, er, I don't know about lawyer fees. I'm trying to see what charges can Karen Reed bring against Boston PD. And again, it's going to determine on, there are a lot of factors that are going to come into play. Okay, old bag. Why do you need Callie's email? Yeah. The statement from Proctor's, folks, they're pretty much just saying, I guess they're saying that the board failed to protect one of their own. It really sounds, that's what it sounds like. That's what it sounds like. But that said, though, listen, um, not to say that, I'll leave it alone. I'll leave it alone. I'll leave it alone. Okay, let's listen to a little bit more Proctor. We have 13 minutes. I wanted to get into Karen Reed's docu-series, but well, we're not going to have time for that tonight. So let's listen to more of Proctor nailing himself or somebody else.
Good. No ass bitch.
What
Right?
the hell?
Check.
They're talking about pancakes. All right.
And then Bird decides to chime in. Good. No ass bitch.
That's crazy.
Right?
Yes, that's what he wrote.
And how did you respond to Bird saying, good, no ass bitch?
I laughed.
Thought that was
Obag
funny,
said
did
he
you?
was funny.
Trooper Proctor? Thought that was funny?
Obag said, if you were Proctor's wife, how would you have responded to the public? Obag, under no circumstances would I be Proctor's wife. Why? Because I don't get in relationship with law enforcement officers. So that's my response. I don't do it. I don't do it. I don't do state troopers. I don't do sheriffs. I don't even do people in the military. I don't date anybody that could potentially own a gun. I don't do it. Okay. And then Brooklyn says, watch Brian Higgins testify or testimony that's spicy. We're going to have to go all the way back. We still have, what do we have? 2 weeks? It's the 19th. I'm looking at my calendar. Hold on. Yeah, we have a lot of time. I kind of wanted to get into sometime this week. We're going to have to get into, what's the woman's name? Lori Vallow, Daybell, whatever her last name is. She was in court yesterday. I watched a little bit. I watched a little bit of, her hearing. And I'm like, actually, I think I said it last night, but for a pro se defendant, she did pretty good. She did better than I mean, there was one pro se that I actually watched in real time. This was, what was this? I mean, what was he charged with? What was that man charged with? I know it was one count of kidnapping. It was kidnapping. I think they accused him of violating a protective order. something along those lines. That man represented himself. He had a public defender, somebody from my office as standby counsel, but that man was up there. He was up there cross-examining folks. Okay, he needed redirecting every once in a while, but he was doing his thing. He was acquitted. He was acquitted of the kidnapping. It was kidnapping and something else. He was acquitted of the kidnapping. The only thing he was convicted of was a misdemeanor, and he had no way around the misdemeanor because the order of protection barred him from being in contact with his ex, and they were caught together, and he was accused of kidnapping and the like. But yeah, he did. But shout out to Lori, though. Big shout out to Lori. Hopefully, maybe we do a video. I want to pre-record the video, but here's my problem. I really don't have time. I don't have enough hours in a day. So maybe we just bring it up here live on Monday or something along those lines. Olbeck said that I would say I've got such a nice, huge bottom. So a pancake really triggered her husband. Listen. Shout out to all the pancakes. Okay, big shout out to all the pancakes. Let's see what they're saying here.
It was unprofessional of me. That's something I shouldn't have done.
Well, I think we all. It's funny.
I think that's probably the route. That's the only way for Proctor. He's gonna have to own up. That's the only real way for the prosecution.
It was unprofessional of me. That's something I shouldn't have done.
Well, I think we all know it was unprofessional. It was a lot of things. I'm asking you, did you think it was funny?
No, according to my response at the time, apparently.
Apparently.
Then you sent a picture just to add to it, to pile on, of Miss Reed being arrested, correct?
I don't.
Yeah, that was improper. I don't know what you was.
I'm not sure if that came from me, sir.
Let's skip to 2543. Are you there, Trooper Proctor?
Yes.
The date is now February.
Listen, big shout out to Lori. That girl did her thing. She did her thing. She did her thing for sure.
February 2nd, 2022. A person by the name of Doc writes, "Is that chick a smoke?" Correct?
Correct.
Who's the chick?
Miss Reed.
And you write E-H, right?
Yes.
And then you write nutbag, as Chief would say, correct?
That's crazy.
Correct.
Who's Chief?
A friend of mine.
And then you write what?
She's got a leaky balloon knot.
Trooper Proctor, explain to the jurors what a balloon knot is.
Come on. Don't be shy now.
Your essentially, I guess, your rectum area.
Your anus?
Yes.
That's what you were referring to about Miss Reed?
Yes.
And you were making fun of her because you believed at that time that it leaked? That's how you were treating Miss Reed? Yes or no?
Yes.
And then you followed that up just to make sure you cleared up any mistake about what you meant with leaks poo, correct?
Objection.
All right, so I'm going to strike that. You could get this in, but do it the right way, Mr. Jackson.
You followed that up with the phrase leaks
Yeah,
poo.
this is.
I did.
Again, another reference to Miss Reed's medical issues and medical conditions, correct?
Correct.
Specifically focused on her anus, correct?
In reference, yes.
What a disgrace. Proctor.
Were you aware at the time that you wrote this
You brought this upon
that Miss
yourself.
Reed had suffered a colectomy surgery, very serious surgery?
I was not, sir, no.
Were you aware that she had had 10 surgeries in 18 months? several years prior.
What does that have to
10.
do with her anus, though?
I was not aware of that.
Were you aware that she had serious medical issues, gastrointestinal medical issues that she suffered with, she was a victim of for years? Did you know that?
Objection.
Sustained.
But you decided that you were going to take another shot at her and talk about her anatomy.
1 second, sir. I'm sorry.
Proctor is toast. What are you saying, Brooklyn?
All set.
I'm sorry. Christine. You decided that you were going to take another shot at her and talk about her anatomy as a balloon knot, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
You'll be fine.
At this point,
Benji.
Trooper Proctor, Miss Reed,
It takes time. It all takes time. Or you could always jump in another relationship. I'm sorry.
was just reduced to a punchline to you, wasn't she?
Objection.
How long were you guys in a relationship for?
Sustained.
Well, you weren't done yet. This chat doesn't end yet, does it?
No, sir.
Let's skip to 2543. On the same date, February 2nd, 2022, about 4:15 p.m., a person by the name of Whitey wrote, "What are you guzzling on?" Correct?
Yes.
And you wrote, "Nothing, writing a warrant." Is that right?
Correct.
Whitey then shares some sort of a video, correct?
Yes.
You remember that video being of the 1980s band Warrant?
I don't recall the video he sent.
0095 laughed and then wrote, "Wait, why does her asshole leak?"
What a
Correct?
Yes, that's what he wrote.
And then what did Doc write in response to that?
Objection, Your Honor.
The objection sustained. I'll see it. Sidebar, take that down, please.
Bev said, wow. Proctor.
Without
that-
reference to-
Take that down.
Oh no, here's another consideration. Does the prosecution then decide to, agree with the defense? Because previously the defense asked for an adjournment, okay, or continuation. I'm trying to figure out, does the prosecution then agree to the adjournment in order to try and figure out how to resolve? Listen, even before Trooper Proctor was fired, I said it before, there was no way around Proctor. That is just the truth of the matter. There's no way around Proctor. There's no way around Proctor. It's in writing. There's no denying it. I have no idea. I have no idea what the prosecution's going to do, but I'm definitely going to tune in, okay? Okay, Obag says, you're going to be great. Yeah, a couple of years. What on earth, Benji? Oh, I see what you're saying. Benji, I'm sending you virtual hugs, okay?
Without reference to the specifics of what was.
I'm going to see counsel at sidebar.
Sure.
Hey, Jim.
Actually, I just noticed something about Jackson right now, right? What I mean by that is, here's something I've not considered before. Hold on, let's let Bev come back and see if this is the part. Let's see. Fall River accent. Okay, let's see, is this the part?
Trooper Proctor, without getting to the specifics of the words used in the following in the next exchange that you're looking at, it's fair to say that your high school buddies then continue to discuss Ms. Reed's medical issues, correct?
Objection.
That's sustained. Come on, Mr. Jackson. That isn't what you said you'd ask.
Okay, this is the part, right? I just thought I'm thinking about Jackson's conduct here in light of, his misconduct, really, or his lack of candor to the court as it relates to the payment of the experts, right? What I realized here, I guess this should have been a signal from the very beginning that Jackson is willing to skate the rules in order to get his way. What I mean by that is he put up an exhibit that was improper, okay? And he continued to ask questions about the improper exhibit. They have a sidebar. At sidebar, Jackson goes on to tell the judge that he was going to ask, it sounds like he was going to ask a different question. And he gets to the podium and he still asks a question that he's not allowed to ask, or he's barred from asking. So to me, I think that to an extent, that also does show a pattern. Okay. So the fact that he went on, that's probably one of the dumbest things I've ever seen an attorney do in a trial, just because, again, we hire experts all the time and we pay for experts all the time. But in any event, to me, that shows a pattern of somebody that is willing to skate the rules in order to get their way. So I suppose him trying to backdoor the whole, what is this? Trying to backdoor the payment to the experts, that should not have come as a surprise. Okay, so Brooklyn says, have you seen such a case before? What do you mean, like law enforcement officers being terminated? I've seen some pretty corrupt police officers during my time, especially when I was a prosecutor. I've seen some pretty corrupt police officers, and yeah, we'll get into it. And yeah, I'll leave it at that, unless you're asking something specific. Old Bag says, Benji, don't twist anything, especially your balloon knot. I should not be laughing at this nonsense. Maybe Old Bag, this is not. Listen, I like comedic relief, but Benji's hurting right now. Okay, let's let Ben. Actually, on Friday, let me see. On Friday, do you wanna come up here and entertain Benji? Let's think about it. Let's see how Benji's feeling tomorrow. Because listen, Benji, if you're not okay, I can come up here every single day. Okay, I can do it for a week. I can come up here on Friday. I'll come up here on Saturday. I'll come up here on Sunday, just so you're fine. Okay, so let me know. Let me know if you need more than a virtual hug.
Go ahead and ask the question you said you'd ask.
Was there a continued discussion that finished on this subject matter?
Yes.
This is random. I'm looking at my phone right now. You guys know I listen to the Midas Touch Network, but the one person I cannot stand on that channel is Michael Cohen. I do not care. Listen, Michael Cohen, I'm going to stop right there because Brooklyn does not like it when the liberals are going off. So I'm going to stop right there.
On Monday,
Shout out to Fever, though. Where's
you
Fever?
indicated that your conduct in this case, and specifically your conduct as reflected in these messages, how did you put it? It did not affect the integrity of the investigation,
I'm
of your
serious,
investigation,
Benji.
correct? That's what you
Correct.
said to the jurors.
Correct.
I can come up here just for you.
Do you know what the definition of integrity is?
Doing the right thing when no one's looking.
All right. And
It means the quality of being honest and having
if we go back to the Proctor family statement, they said this man acted with integrity. That's what they're saying.
strong moral principles, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you believe that integrity means being honest and having strong moral principles?
I believe that's part of it as well.
Do you stand by that testimony that you were showing strong moral principles in this investigation, sir?
In the investigation part, absolutely. Through these text messages, absolutely not. They were juvenile and regrettable.
Juvenile.
When you say they're juvenile and regrettable, it sounds like you're almost
Okay,
apologizing.
so jury makeup. Let's think about jury makeup a little bit. Okay. The first time around, if I remember correctly, the jury appears to have been made up of professionals, right? I think that was the makeup, but I can look that up. Let me see if I can look that up. In any event, I don't want to get distracted. Let me get my point out and then I need to go. So the first time around, again, it appears that most folks that were on the jury were professionals. So professional folks are individuals, people that do not have a lot of context with law enforcement, or people who do not have families that have had a lot of contact with law enforcement. They are much more likely to, not going to say sympathize with Proctor. I do not know that he is a sympathetic witness, but some of them might be able to understand, not so much understand. They're much more likely to overlook his behavior. Okay. Whereas if Michael Proctor, if this trial was taking place in Fulton County, for example, and this is your lead investigator, you know that's an acquittal. There's no question about that. That is an acquittal. Okay. But again, the county and the folks that actually end up on the jury will play a critical role as far as Michael Proctor is concerned, because this case is really about Proctor, or at least from my perspective, or at least that should be the that should be the defendant's angle. Okay, so Bag, I don't know how you actually twist your balloon knot. I don't want to know. I don't want to know. Um, Benji says, I just want to say a lot of words come up during these difficult times. Integrity is one of them. Brooklyn, I'm sure if you go through anybody's personal messages, write stupid stuff that doesn't make them a corrupt. We've talked about this previously. Okay, we've talked about how that's just the nature of being human, and people say things they shouldn't be saying, right? I suppose some people are more careful about what they say, and other people are reckless about what they say. I've talked about previously, one of my clients who overheard her doctor talking about her, because the doctor thought that the client had hung up, and the doctor was, pretty much maligning her own patient to the folks around her. And that's just how people are. I mean, it's not everybody, it's not excusable, but that is the nature of being human. So I suppose in this case, the prosecution has to get the jury to, sympathize with Proctor, separate the text messages from the so-called integrity of the actual investigation. But that's just people say dumb stuff all the time, and people rant, and but then again, the man probably just has no, not to say that he has no morals, but I find it highly unlikely that I find it highly unlikely that other police officers do not go on to malign defendants, or even that prosecutors do not view criminal defendants in a certain light or don't talk about them in a certain light. And it's not even that, because you guys know I'm on Reddit. I'll see if I can find the subreddit. It's a very old subreddit, really old subreddit. But this subreddit, was it about Karen Reed? Makes me wonder. Let me think. I know that it was the public defender subreddit. As far as the discussion, was it really Karen Reed? Let me look at my history. I'm gonna play Proctor, and then let me look at my history because there's a point that I'm trying to make. Hold on.
To the jury for your conduct.
My
Is that what you're
behind
doing?
should really be going to bed.
Those text
Objection.
Sustained.
Trooper Proctor, have you ever apologized to Miss Reed?
Objection.
Sustained.
What on earth is going on with the government?
As the lead investigator in this case, you were tasked with the responsibility of making sure that the investigation remained free of any conflicts of interest. That's part of your job, correct?
Correct.
Throughout the pendency of this investigation, in this case, you've denied having any conflict of interest in this case. Isn't that right?
Correct.
In fact, a couple of months ago in February of 2024, you testified in a different proceeding. Is that right?
Yes.
And you testified under oath in that proceeding on February 1st that you did not know any members of the Albert family or McCabe family, correct?
Certain members of the Albert family I did not know. I know Chris and Julie and Colin. I don't know the McCabes.
That wasn't my question. Did you testify? Let's take them one at a time. Did you testify under oath, same oath you took here today, in a former proceeding in February of 2024, that you did not know and did not have any relationship with members of the Albert and McCabe families? Did you?
I haven't had a chance to review those minutes. I've only had one opportunity to, and that was a couple months ago. So I would want to review those minutes in order to answer that accurately.
You can't remember how you testified, whether or not you knew or had relationships with the Alberts and McCabes?
Objection.
Sustained.
As you sit here right now, you need to
Hold
refresh
on,
your
I'm trying to
recollection.
look
You can't
up my
remember what you
history.
said.
Objection.
Do you remember what you said?
I search.
During that proceeding, no.
Would it refresh your recollection if you took a look at those grand jury minutes?
Yes.
What page, Mr. Jackson?
This is page 01563. If I may have just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
Okay, unfortunately, my history can only go back to 11 days ago. In any event, the substance of that conversation was something along the lines of, public defenders pretty much, what is this? It was, I don't know, the from what I recall, this was about somebody making improper comments about a criminal defendant. And somebody had posted on there pretty much saying what we've seen here, that people say things about other folks that they shouldn't. And sometimes even public defenders say things they shouldn't about their own clients. So I don't know, maybe that's the angle the prosecution takes in trying to Proctor, I don't even know what the right word is, because I don't know if you can be rehabilitated. I don't know how the prosecution does that, but that's a consideration. Basically, for them to argue that he's human, and the text messages to his friends, that's distinct from his investigation of the case. But him being a drunk, on the other hand, I don't know, because one of the reasons why he was fired is because he was what is this, not under the influence. Apparently he was drinking. Okay, he was drinking and drove, I suppose, a police cruiser. Okay, and I've said this before. I said this previously, that these individuals sound like a whole bunch of drunks, because even on the night off, it's a whole bunch of drunk people driving. Like, what are you doing on the road? Get off the road. And I'm not saying this to be, sanctimonious and to act righteous or whatever. But listen, driving under the influence is one of those charges where you can live mostly a law-abiding life, but you don't have to sell drugs. You don't, have to poke anybody, slap anybody's baby mama or anything along those lines to end up in a criminal court. Driving under the influence can guarantee that you end up with a conviction. That's one of the easiest charges to actually get. So yeah, that was just reckless. So they could have, I was gonna say even Karen Reed could have killed somebody driving drunk, but that is reckless behavior. I do not know why these adults, and not even that, a lot of them are professionals um, in law enforcement, but that's probably their thought process. They're like, oh, in law enforcement, one of my other folks, they're not going to pull me over. That's probably what they thought. But they were definitely reckless. But they all appear to have a serious drinking problem, because um, if we remember Albert, that Brian Albert, and is his first name Brian? I think there were two people in this case that actually had the same first name. Was it Brian or somebody? I don't remember. But anyways, Albert, the law enforcement officer, him and Proctor were drinking together a day after this incident, something along those lines, and he forgot his badge and gun in Proctor's vehicle or the cruiser. They have a drinking problem. They need to do something. Okay, all right, enough ranting, you guys. Okay, all right, Benji, that sounds good. Yeah, all that drinking and driving, no, 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 no. They do sell 0% beer, like non-alcoholic beer. I've only had non-alcoholic beer once, and that's I think it's when I was doing my master's, because when I'm really busy, I don't drink alcohol. Even now it's cold, so I don't drink alcohol. I like beer. Okay, I love beer. But when it's cold, it doesn't do anything for me. I need like a really hot day when I'm sweaty, not doing anything but gossiping. I'll be drinking beer. Yeah, there are ways around it. Like, drink non-alcoholic beer. Take an Uber, for goodness sake. I don't know why a whole bunch of drunk people were out on the road driving. Makes no sense. In any event, folks, those are my comments. Those are my thoughts, my remarks. I'm a little over time, but I am curious to find out. I'm curious to find out how the prosecution goes about this, and the defense. Obviously, this is a dream. This is a dream. I just hope they utilize it properly. I hope the defense makes the most of this information, because it's not every day when you get a case like this handed to you. I mean, the case was already a little shaky, but him being fired, that has turned things up, because the first time around, he was still in the force. In any event, folks, I'm off. Okay. All right. And then Benji said, thanks again, everyone. Enjoy the stream. All right, Benji. I'll be waiting for your email. And again, if you need me to come up here every day, I can certainly do that. Okay. All right, folks. Have a fantastic Thursday. Let's tune into tomorrow's hearing. All right. We're tuning into the hearing tomorrow. Somewhere, somehow, we're gonna have to get to Lori. Okay, we're gonna have to get to Lori one of these days, but it has to be soon. Again, I just hate that Lori and Karen Reed's trials are starting on the same day. I don't like that. I definitely don't like that. All right, folks, we're off. We're off. We're off. Good night, Callie. Good night, Brooklyn. Good night, Benji. Shout out to Obag. Good night, Obag. Shout out to Jerome. Jerome's busy. Okay. Shout out to Fever. Big shout out to Fever. Folks, I'm definitely off. I'm gone. I'm gone. I'll see you guys tomorrow, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time.